It was a rough Wednesday night for ranked teams on the road. Gonzaga, Sparty, BYU all go down. And here's the thing, they basically all trailed wire to wire.
You are Locked On College Basketball, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? Welcome into the Locked On College Basketball Podcast, the only daily national college hoop show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Shade. You're joining me at the place to get your college basketball content every single day, y'all. It's all part of the Locked On Network, the #1 sports podcast network out there. Thanks for making us your first listen or watch. And I want to give a special shout out to all you everydayers and all the members of the Locked On College Basketball Discord that are here with us. This episode's brought to you by Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Coming up on the show today, we're basically recapping all the events of Wednesday night. It was a rough night on the road for multiple ranked teams at unranked opponents. Oh, man, crazy stuff there. And then a big, important SEC game. It's funny, you might not have realized it because it was two unranked teams, even though at least one of them should be ranked. So neither of them had a number next to their name, but Alabama holds off Buckyball in Tuscaloosa. Meanwhile, Clemson avoided the road ignominy that several others suffered, and Utah State gets a massive win atop the Mountain West Conference. Let's dive right on in to this trio of ranked teams that lost on the road on Wednesday night. And I hate it for my guy, my buddy, my partner, my co-host, Andy Patton, but we got to start with the number 6 in the nation, go on the road to Portland, where they were officially 22-point favorites. I joked on yesterday's show that they were 4,000-point favorites because there was no world in which Portland was going to spring this upset. Oh my, was I wrong. Portland wins this thing 87-80, and you're going to catch this as a theme running through all three of these games where the ranked team lost on the road, is that they were basically handled, beaten from wire to wire. Gonzaga led a whopping grand total of 32 seconds of this basketball game. Portland, 37-14. And so that's the thing. This was not some, you hear like, holy smokes, Portland came back from being 22-point underdogs and won. Yeah, they did. And the thing is, it wasn't some miracle. They took a lead, and then they just kept on going. I mean, crazy. And then the thing is, they kept expanding it out as well. The lead grew to as much as 15 late in the second half. Gonzaga fought valiantly down the stretch to get it back within reason, but they couldn't get it there. Portland wins 87-80. Andy and I were texting throughout the game, and the big thing there is he was like, look, Isaac, Gonzaga just cannot stop anybody. Maybe they'll get some baskets, but Portland just goes right back and scores. And the hard thing for Gonzaga at a big picture level is, people are always looking for bullet holes, holes to punch in Gonzaga's armor. And usually the thing is that Gonzaga just doesn't lose games like this, but they do here. And I mean, it's a rough loss for the Bulldogs. Gonzaga falls. I'm pulling up the net in real time here. Stay with me. I don't know that it hasn't updated yet, actually, as we record here on Thursday morning. But Gonzaga was 5th going into the game. And the problem for them is that Portland came into the game 230th in the net. Gonzaga's resume looks great. Literally the only blemish was that 40-point drubbing to Michigan in the Players Era Festival Championship. But now, because Portland is 230th, Gonzaga is going to have a Q4 loss on their resume. That's going to be tough to overcome. Now, what you have to do is make that the only blemish. There can be nothing else the rest of the way here. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you're Gonzaga, you got seven West Coast Conference games left, including going to St. Mary's. Braden Huff, the loss of him hasn't screwed things up yet, but you see it kind of show up here. And so this is a big chink in the armor for Gonzaga. Per Rocco Miller on Twitter, he says, for those wondering, Portland entered today 260th in the net, and the Pilots have lost, you ready, 20 straight in the Gonzaga series. And so, Mark Few's got to be frustrated with the result, especially this is the last year in the West Coast Conference for Gonzaga, and there's that. Here's a crazy thing. Shantae Leggins, the coach at Portland, Brianna Green had said on Twitter, here's a new one for you. A week ago, there were so many players sick for the University of Portland that head coach Shantae Leggins had to play scout team. It did not go well. He tore his Achilles. He told me he was going to sit versus Gonzaga tonight. That has yet to happen. As you can imagine, was up and going basically the entire game. Very Ron Hunter energy. You remember that from the NCAA tournament? How long ago was that now? I can't remember what year that was for Georgia State, where he had the leg scooter thing and his son hits the shot. It was crazy. One of my favorite memories in recent NCAA tournament history. But that was Shantae Leggins last night. I cannot overstate how massive this win is for Portland. That's huge, crazy stuff. And again, they just kept adding to their lead, and there was nothing seemingly Gonzaga could do to put a stop to it. Now, Gonzaga, not the only top 10 team to lose on the road on Wednesday night. Michigan State goes to the barn, goes to Minnesota, and loses 76-73. Similarly, valiant effort from Sparty. And I got to tell you, Gonzaga, I think the closest Gonzaga got down the stretch was 5. Michigan State closed this thing back to within 2. But again, this was not some, look what miracle Minnesota pulled out. Cade Tyson hits a full court 3 to knock off Spartan. No. Michigan State, hear me say this, literally never led in this basketball game. Minnesota led for 38-56. 0-time led for Michigan State. Jalen Crocker-Johnson had 22, leading 5 different Golden Gophers in double figures. And the thing was, you look at this 3-point margin, you're like, oh man, something crazy must have happened. Well, it did, but not what you're thinking. Minnesota was up 16 points with 3 minutes and 50 seconds to go. 16. And so this should have been a runaway, right? As you look at it, they were up 67-51. Sparty goes on a 20-6 run to get it down to just 2 points with 20 seconds to go. But then Isaac Asuma steps to the free throw line, knocks down 2 free throws to make it a 2-possession game again. And that's essentially it. So Minnesota tried their very best. You could see Nico Medved just sweating on the sidelines. He's worried, but they get it done. Now, for Michigan State, it's been a tough stretch here. As a reminder, who was it? They had 4 games ago, they trucked somebody. Maryland. Yeah. They beat Maryland 91-48. And it was like, oh my goodness. But since then, in the 3 games since, a reminder that last Tuesday, Michigan State needed overtime to win at Rutgers. But hey, you'll take it. It's a road win in conference. I don't care how bad Rutgers is. They won the basketball game. But signs of struggle is my point. And then for last Friday night, it wasn't Saturday, it was Friday night, lost at home to Michigan. That was a great game, but you got to feel like you can beat your rival at home inside the Breslin Center. They didn't. They lost by 12, and then they lose this one. So now you've lost back-to-back games, and you know what stinks about that? You get that, and now waiting for you is a red-hot Illinois team on Saturday coming in. Ken Palm, I'm looking at Ken Palm right now, favors Michigan point. And so that's going to be knockdown, drag out. They got to take care of business. Here's another big issue right now that Coach Izzo is going to have to deal with. Jeremy Fears has suddenly taken on like full-on Grayson Allen approach. There was the video of him tripping Yaxel Lendeborg in that game last Friday night. Coach Dusty May talked about that from Michigan. There were several similar examples to that again last night. Very, very odd. Jeremy, bro, you got to rein this in. You're not going to get away with any of this kind of stuff, especially right now because eyeballs are on you like crazy. Bro, what are you doing? Stop it. There's no room for that in basketball, and we can't have it. All right, no more of that. And then the other ranked team that lost on the road at an unranked opponent was BYU. And by the way, I forgot to say, Minnesota had lost 7 straight games going into last night. I don't understand what they're doing. All right, that gets me even more fired up. I'll tell you what, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back and look at AJ DeBance's massive night, but yet BYU still loses in Stillwater. We'll get to that, and the big-time SEC matchup in Tuscaloosa. All that coming up in just a second.
I'm Clea Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. Number 1 ranked UConn dominated Tennessee 96-66, turning a halftime tie into a historic win and avenging last season's loss by delivering the largest margin in the rivalry's history. AZ Fudd had 27 points and Sarah Strong added 26 as the Huskies remain perfect on the season, reminding everyone why they are the reigning national champions. In the Big Ten, number 2 UCLA rolled past number 8 Iowa 88-65, powered by 22 points from Angela Dukelich and a huge advantage in the paint, staking their claim as a national threat. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
Thanks so much for making Locked On College Basketball your first listener watch of the day. Thanks so much for making Locked On the number 1 sports podcast network, man. It's all because of all of you. You already live your team anyway. Now take it up a level and go ad-free by checking out our brand new Everydayer Club. The link for that's in the show notes. Check it out. We'd love to have you. All right, let's head to Stillwater, Oklahoma, about 3 hours west of me. Got some good friends there, a lot of Poke fans, so congratulations to all my Poke fans knocking off BYU, getting a big time dub there. They win 99-92. Yet again, just like look, BYU led more than Gonzaga and Michigan State combined, but it was still just 3 minutes while they trailed for 34 minutes of this basketball game. And you guys, like, BYU, it's a tough stretch right now. Tough stretch. Remember, they started the season just a couple weeks ago, Wednesday, January 14th. BYU had just beaten TCU at home 76-60. They were 16-1 on the season. Their lone loss, very understandably, a loss to UConn, 4-0 in Big 12 play. Since that moment, BYU has gone 1-4. Their one win was the win at home in the Holy War. Now losses to Texas Tech, to Arizona, to Kansas, and now Oklahoma State. And that's the Big 12 for you, right? This is the best conference in basketball this year, which wonder is KenPom was still saying that it was SEC based on metric. Yeah, I don't get, and has Big 12 third. No, miss me with that. I get that the algorithm does that, but in terms of like winnability or championship, like SEC, maybe Florida. Outside of that, they have no national championship teams in the SEC. So no, Big 12 is the best conference in college basketball. And so that's the thing for BYU. This is going to happen sometimes. I can totally understand losing at Texas Tech, losing at home to Arizona just by 3 points, and then losing at Kansas, right? Like, you just don't go to Allen Fieldhouse and win basketball games, especially when DP is doing crazy stuff. The problem for BYU is that then they follow it up with a loss at Oklahoma State. And look, I get that that's going to happen on the road in conference play sometimes. But for BYU, they can't have that. There's a couple issues at play here. The biggest story of what made this result what it was for me was the turnovers and then the points off. BYU literally doubles the number of turnovers that Oklahoma State has, 16 to 8, 16 turnovers. You can't do that. You got to take care of the basketball better. If you're BYU on the road here. And the issue was Rob Wright had 5 and AJ DeBance's had 5 and Richie Saunders had 3. So your big 3 did everything they needed to do from a scoring standpoint. We'll talk about that in a second. But of your 16 turnovers, they had 13 of them. And I get it. The dudes that are handling the ball a lot and scoring the basketball a lot, and have a propensity to sometimes turn it over more. I understand that. High usage rate often means high turnover rate. Sure, fine, great, whatever. but you can't do that and expect to win in a tough road environment at IBA Arena, baby. Come on. They're not going to let you do that in Stillwater. So there you go. Now, Oklahoma State not only had, half as many turnovers as BYU, but they did so much more with them. Oklahoma State leads a game they won by 7 points, leads points off turnovers 21-8. There you go. That right there. That's the story of the game. That's the difference. Interestingly, it's still a big night for the big three. AJ Debinsa goes wacky, 36 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. Of course, that 5 turnovers, that's a little blemish on it. Rob Wright, 15 points. Richie Saunders, 20. So the three of them combined to shoot better than 50% from the field. So they did everything you needed them to do scoring-wise, but here's the problem. They had 71 of BYU's 92 points, meaning everyone non-big three only combined for 21 points. They need more help than that, whether that's Keba Keita, whether that's Kennard Davis, whether, whatever. You got to get more. And I get that there's injury. Like BYU has been hit by season-ending injury bug in a big way, and that stinks, and that's tough. But still, you got to find a way to get past that. Anthony Roy leads the way for Oklahoma State. Good grief. 30 points for him, 9 of 15 from the field, 5 of 10, 3, 7 of 7 at the line. Really, really good, helping lead the way. But again, 5 pokes in totality in double figures. They're doing it, right? We just talked about how BYU needs help for the big three. That's what Oklahoma State did well. Now, here's something that Oklahoma State did not do well. Coach Kevin Young addressed this after the game. There were some highly inappropriate phrases being shouted at BYU. You guys, I'm not going to repeat it here. You can go find it for yourself, but I will say this. There is zero room for that in sports. We cannot have that kind of stuff, man. Coach Young talked about, like, look, I got 4 young kids at home, and now I'm going to have to go home and they're going to ask me what that meant, what these people were chanting at them. No. Cut that out, Stillwater. You are better than that. We can't have it, man. And I get mob mentality, and it's a thing, but you simply cannot be doing that. So now, again, BYU has now lost 4 of 5. This is the one you couldn't afford to lose because, it's totally understandable, those other 3 losses. But now, by the way, for BYU coming up next, Houston's coming to town on Saturday, which could very easily be 5 losses in a 6-game span. And then you get a little bit of a break, Baylor and Colorado, but then you got to go to Arizona, and then you host Iowa State. It's the Big 12. There are no breaks. BYU's got some things they got to get figured out here. Let's go to the SEC. Texas A&M at Alabama. Obviously, we've been talking a lot recently about Texas A&M being alone atop the heap of the SEC. Some of that was schedule-induced, we believe. But a lot of it was just we hadn't seen it. We don't know how legitimately good Texas A&M is. They go to Athens and win on Saturday, and it's like, okay, there's some more validation, right? But then they go to Alabama, to Coleman, and you wonder, like, is this the moment where Texas A&M gets exposed a little bit? And yes, they lose this basketball game 100-97. I mean, of course, it was that kind of score when you've got buckyball against Alabama. Not first to 90 wins, first to 100 wins in this scenario. I mean, it's an insane game with 8 gajillion three-point attempts combined. Bama goes 16 of 48. A&M goes 13 of 31. I forget what the stat was, but something in the vein of most combined three-point attempts in a regulation game. I mean, it was absolutely crazy. They had both gotten to double-digit threes, had made double-digit threes with still over 14 minutes to go. I mean, absolutely absurd, but this is modern basketball. Bucky McMillan, man, this is what they do. They're going to get after you and grind for the entirety of the game. So here's the thing, though, for A&M, getting back to that big picture of it. This was very similar for me of last week with Nebraska's near win at Michigan. While Nebraska lost that game, a game that they probably feel like they should have won, a game that I feel like they should have won, that we left that game with me actually feeling better about Nebraska than I did going into it, despite the loss. The same is here true for me of Texas A&M. They came into this game 8.5-point underdogs. And basically both teams led for just shy of 18 minutes, like it was 17 something for both teams. A&M, like, it appears to be legit, you guys. We're going to have to continue to watch. The schedule is going to get tougher, and I'll say more about that in a second, but now we're going to start finding out more. But this showing here for me was critical. Now, for Alabama, man, they just keep shuttling guys in and out with injury. It's tough. No Taylor Bowen in this one. They just can't get injury breaks, man. But you see what A&M can do. Here's an example of just how quick buckyball can flip things. Bama went on a little bit of a run to go up 28-19, so by 9 points at the 10-16 mark. A&M then goes on a 10-0 run in less than 2 minutes of time to retake the lead at 29-28. Like, that's what buckyball can do to you, just like that. They went on a stretch later in the first half where they made 9 straight field goals to lead 40-35. I mean, it's crazy stuff. Of course, one of the fun storylines of this game, you had Rylan Griffin against his former team, had a really hard foul on Aiden Holloway at one point, all of that stuff. Here's another thing I noticed with this game is, we're starting to learn more and more about the era of the coach's challenge and what that's going to do and how we're going to go about it. Alabama, because remember, if you use the challenge and you lose it, it's gone and you don't get it back for the rest of the game. So Amari Allen, there's a tip ball out of bounds kind of situation where it's one of those, like, I don't know, bang bang kind of plays. It's close. It's hard to tell in real time. It's easy to tell when you slow it down and check it out. But Bama essentially got burned in this moment because Nate Oates uses the challenge. There's not enough video evidence to overturn it or to decide one way or the other because it's too close. But as often, Amari Allen fights for it. And I don't mean that about Amari Allen. I just mean a player's like, oh, of course it's our ball, right? But not factoring in, like, sometimes you just can't tell. And so then Bama loses a timeout in what we now know was a critical timeout needed in a very, very close game down the stretch. And so that is the issue there for Alabama. And so that's a thing. And that's going to be something to watch. Another wrinkle with the coach's challenge that we're going to see. I forget what game it was. There was another game later in the night where it's like, man, my goodness. But it just, I wish I could remember what game it was now. It's killing me. It was Clemson and Stanford, where coaches are kind of just getting as much time as they need to wait before they challenge it. And so one of the things we're going to have to do this offseason is put more specific language or better language around exactly how long a coach has before it's like, hey, we got to move on, ball and play, let's go, right? So there's that. Another thing with this game is I thought another critical error by Nate Oates is he got a technical with 12:13 to go. He had been on Lee Cassell all night. Finally, Cassell had enough. He calls the tee, and the score at that point, at the moment of that, Alabama was up 64-63. A&M was already going to the line for a 1-and-1. They hit both technical free throws and then both free throws in the 1-and-1. They get a stop, and then they followed up with a 3. So now they've gone on a 7-0 run in the matter of seconds there, and that could have been the thing that cost them the game. But of course, we know now that both teams scored 30 more points, and there you go. So big win for Alabama, much needed. On the A&M side of things, now they host Florida on Saturday. Very interesting there. Both teams sitting at 7-2 in the SEC, which is really crazy. We'll talk about Kentucky more in a second, but they're now third in the SEC at 7-3. Really good on Kentucky, what they're doing to get that. Much needed win, though, for Alabama. They came in 4-4 in SEC play, struggling a little bit. Again, injuries playing a role in that, but now they're 5-4, wondering if they can make some movements. But I love it. We got first place in the SEC on the line on Saturday. That game is going to be an absolute blast. Tough loss for buckyball, but better days are ahead there. All right. Still to get to, Clemson narrowly avoided becoming the fourth team I talked about in the first segment, a ranked team to lose on the road, but they get a win at Stanford. Utah State gets a huge road win, speaking of road wins, at the Pit in New Mexico atop the Mountain West Conference. We'll talk about all of that and more coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about Indeed. Hiring isn't just about finding someone willing to take your job. It's about finding the right person with the right background who can actually help your business move forward. And if you want candidates who match what you're looking for, Indeed sponsored jobs, man, that's the move. Because instead of hoping the right person just happens to stumble across your post, Indeed helps you match with quality candidates by boosting your job listing to the people who fit your specific criteria, like skills, certifications, and location. If I was hiring, I wouldn't want just someone who could help. I'd want someone with real experience who can jump right in. That's what I love about Indeed. You can get specific and you can target exactly what it is you need. And with sponsored jobs, your post gets seen by candidates who are actually a fit. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of Locked On College Basketball are going to get $75 in a sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Again, that's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Are you hiring? Do it the right way with Indeed. This episode is brought to you by our good friends at Game Time. There's nothing like being in an NBA arena. The crowd, the energy, the moments, but getting tickets, oh man, that part hasn't always been so simple. That's why Game Time has become the go-to app for scoring tickets fast without the hassle. It puts the advantage back where it belongs with you, the fans. You can pull up the Game Time app, pick an NBA game that's upcoming, and have your tickets locked and loaded within minutes. I love seeing the all-in prices up front at Game Time. That's one of my favorite things about it. There's not like, oh, here's my tickets. I wonder what it's going to go to when I get to check out with the fees and service things and all that. No. What you see, man, that is what you get. The big game of the weekend, Duke at North Carolina. The cheapest ticket right now is around $450. Yeah, but keep watching it because these tickets often go down the closer you get to tip off at Game Time. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets and college basketball tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. And remember, it's gametime.co, not gametime.com. All right. We talked earlier in the show about these ranked teams that went on the road and lost. There were 3 of them. Clemson almost got slotted into that same thing. Number 20 Tigers go to Stanford. They're 4.5-point favorites. And I tell you what, despite all of that, they go to Stanford and are able to get this win late in the game. The issue for me, Stanford was able to tie it up with some great resilience. There's like 5.5 to go. They tie it up at 58. And then as things went on, just kind of struggled to score much more. Clemson ends up winning 66-64 in this game. And what was weird down the stretch was Stanford had some timeouts and they just ran bad offense. It was like Ibuka Okore, who is great. They just like, all right, Ibuka, here you go. Good luck. And then they couldn't get stuff done. And man, I just don't know. Like, if you're Stanford, you got a massive opportunity. You've had some good wins this season. You're in bubble conversation consideration, but kind of way off of it. You got a chance and you don't get it. And so for Stanford, I feel like they're going to feel like they left one here, and we'll see what happens. But Clemson, big time win for them on the road to continue to stay in second place in the ACC. Really, really nice for them. Let's go then to the Mountain West Conference, where Utah State goes to the pit and beats New Mexico by 20. And let me remind you, coming into this game, that in the Mountain West Conference, Utah State and San Diego State and New Mexico were all tied atop the league at 9-2. And so this was like, man, this is going to be big time, massive. I mean, good night, Utah State. Really, really big time to get this win. And as a reminder, they had just beaten at home. So now they hold the reason this is a big deal is because they hold the tiebreaker, Utah State does, over both teams. Now, of course, keep in mind, they've still got to go to Viejas, to San Diego State, and then they welcome New Mexico to the last game of the regular season. But for now, Utah State sitting pretty atop the Mountain West, or I guess they are technically still tied, I should say, with San Diego State, but they hold the tiebreaker, and so really good stuff there. Let's go back to the SEC, where we had said, look, if you are Kentucky, you cannot afford to, like, don't screw this up, right? You just went and won a massive game at Arkansas. And now you've got this opportunity to go and like you're hosting Oklahoma, and Oklahoma's been really, really bad, right? Like it's just this long losing streak. And it's just like Kentucky, with the way this season has gone, what I could see happening is that you drop this game. Thankfully, no question about it. 94-78. Cats win this thing. Brandon Garrison gets double 20 and 11. Coach Pope has to scoot out after the press conference because his daughter's returning from a mission trip. And he's like, I got it. She's going to be here in 22 minutes. And so really good stuff there. Houston wins going away against UCF. Illinois literally doubles up Northwestern. Louisville gets a nice win against Notre Dame. What was the final of that one? 76-65. Probably a little closer than they would have liked, but ultimately pull it out there in the end. Some other nice stuff. Thursday night, tonight's action is not that great. I guess let me just make sure we know of the biggest stuff. West Virginia's at Cincinnati, Ohio State at Maryland, Memphis at UAB. That's interesting in the American. There's not too much else good stuff other than that. However, looking ahead to Friday and the weekend, going to be great stuff. Make sure you're with Andy and I as we get ready for the weekend slate there. So we will be with you on tomorrow's show. Get ready for that on Friday. You guys, if you haven't subscribed to the show on video and audio, do it right now so you don't miss a second of Locked On College Basketball. If you haven't joined our brand new Everydayers Club or the Locked On College Basketball Discord, those links are both in the show notes. We'd love to see you there. Check it out. As always, I got to say apologies to the Lawyer family. Let's go Wild Popes. Cheers to the McBruins. And until tomorrow, peace.